here. So, um, first of all, Brian, thank you so much for jumping on. Um, where are you? You're not in San Diego, are you?
Yeah, San Diego.
That's your San. Okay,
Yep.
that's your. Okay, you're changing your office up a little bit, going all over. Okay. So this is Brian. This is Philip Kelly, and
Hey,
we
Philip.
met, yeah, maybe like a month or two ago, and he was the first person to join me. And Philip used to be chaplain for Kansas City Chiefs. He's public speaker. He also worked with other NFL teams all over. Former
still do. Don't make me past tense. I'm still relevant.
It's still relevant, okay? But we had a call a couple weeks ago, and he was looking at starting his own business, and I was like, come on, let's do this first. So we went down that road, and then he brought in Keith Custer, and Keith is a major, I would already call him just a major recruiter, networker. He had nonprofit organization going on, and he was looking for some supplemental income, and great timing. He jumped in, I think, right before the world ended. And he was reached out to another guy named Dr. Charlie, who's sitting there with the big gamer headphones on. And
looking good there, Doc.
Yeah, Doc Charlie's legit. Don't let him fool you. He sits there and he smiles and he's a man of few words, but when he talks, it's kind of like mic drop. But he's a professional speaker, especially on leadership, all over the world. And a lot of his speaking sessions and gigs got canceled. So this is an amazing time for him. Philip Kelly also brought this amazing man named Michael to the game. And Michael are you 67?
Hey, Michael.
Michael, you 67, man?
How old are you?
How old are you?
Where I come from, we take it 1 year at a time. I'm 64 and a half. So
sorry. So Michael and his wife jumped in here. Michael's doctor told him to forget about losing weight at his age, just stay on the medication. And Michael was like, no. And Philip introduced this to Michael, and Michael actually jumped in and did a 60-hour fast and nailed it, and did the 10-day challenge, and then put in a big order. And him and his wife are just thriving right now on the product and their lifestyle. They've made a lot of changes, and they're from Indiana. Dr. Charlie's from Kansas City. Keith Custer's from Kansas City. Philip Kelly's from Kansas City. And then Chris Carr is also Philip Kelly's friend who lives in
Roanoke.
Roanoke. That's right. We had a call there, and was this a fireman?
No, Chris and I go way back. He has his own kitchen remodeling, cabinetry business. How many active projects do you have going on right now, Chris?
I just ordered 15 this week.
Yeah, Chris knows everybody. He is a rock star, great friend. He's one of those 2 a.m. friends that if you call and say, hey, I need something, he will drive across the country and help you out.
So then all of you guys, this is my brother from another mother, mentor, one of my just best friends, and he has always taken good care of me. We met probably almost a decade ago, which makes us sound really old. In my first multi-level marketing company that a Kansas City Chiefs player had introduced me to, and I was, crushing, and Brian was crushing, and I just always kind of was following him and what he was doing. And I told him what the company was selling to another company, and we were never on the same team, but I told him, hey, if you ever find that thing I said, don't call me for another network marketing company, but if you ever find that thing that's just going to be amazing, I better be your first call. Like I said, take me with you. And almost a little over 4 years ago, I got that call from him and said, okay. And I know a lot of you guys know the story, but he told me to get my butt on a plane and get to Balboa to preview the technology. And took me, actually told me I was going to be a spokesmodel, which at the time my ego was
Stroking that ego, yeah. Hey, that's
I was
brilliant.
in the modeling industry, so I was like, awesome. But truth be told, that never would have brought me the success that it has now. And he's the one where it kind of took a while to keep developing that technology, and he would kind of stay in touch. And I told him, I was like, you know what, I got to start my own company. I started a tea company up, and about 7 months later, 6 months maybe after we previewed the technology, we were opening the gates that night, and he was the one who gave me a call and said, don't be a moron, sign in and let's go. And that night I said, okay, because I trusted him and I borrowed his faith and confidence. And that is what this is all about when you are brand new. And so, Brian, obviously I have a team of men here. So I'm so glad to have you on this call. And I've taught them all about third-party credibility. And guys, I don't know anybody better in the industry itself than Brian James. Before he did this, he had other experience in the marketing company, but he's an entrepreneur. He's a hustler. He's a goal setter. And he's amazing at really guiding and coaching people and taking this and making it stupid simple so we can all do it very quickly over and over again. So with that being said, Brian, I'd love to just, welcome you to the call and say a few words, and I'm going to let him pick your brain. So.
All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen. It's great to meet all of you. And Abigail, aren't you glad you weren't just a spokesmodel? You'd be broke right now. Right? So, and I, obviously, as you gentlemen can see, is that Abigail can definitely hold her own with the boys. She's definitely an incredible leader and has built a massive organization around the world. But kind of going back to a lot of the things that she kind of mentioned, was talking about, I've been in this industry now for 16 years. And I've learned a ton. I currently own, I sit on the board as a president of a very large California-based company that is right now valued at over $250 million. I'm one of the lead investors there. I also started another company about 1.5 years ago that I'm a co-founder, and that operation is currently running, obviously, amongst everything going on in the world right now. Still to this day, I will tell you that it has been the network marketing industry that's given me a foundation to be able to invest, to be able to start companies, really create multiple streams of income. It has all come, whether it's my real estate investments, whether it's any of my portfolio, every single thing that I have going, the seed money, all was created in this industry. So, I think that's powerful. And here's the reason why. And I think now it's highlighted. And apologies if you hear any background noise. I got a 1-year-old and a 5-year-old that obviously has been cooped up now for, a couple weeks. So they are essentially losing their mind. But with that being said, I want to just mention, and here's what I love about this, is that, when you have an industry like network marketing, and please understand that if you date network marketing back, I don't think that anymore network marketing can just be categorized. And that would be like saying you go to church. I mean, that is a very broad statement. You know what I mean? That could be Christianity. That could be Mormon. That could be, Judaism. You understand what I'm saying, right? That's too broad of a statement. Just like saying I work out. Well, there's hundreds of different methodologies. So it's the same way here. When someone says network marketing, it drives me nuts because that's the difference between A, B, and C churches. Because there's a lot of different factors that come into play. It's the community, it's the brand, it's the products, it's the compensation. There's so many different factors that go into a company. It just happens that our compensation it's shared amongst a multitude of people throughout a team, right? That's really what it ultimately comes down to. That's kind of the definition of network marketing, or what, obviously what is called multi-level marketing, is that you have the ability to create a team, and you have the ability, depending on the value that you bring or the influence that you have. And ultimately, Dr. Charlie, what you teach is leadership. Everything rises and falls on leadership. So in this case, that's what you're doing. You're leading people in their actions. You're leading people in their goals. And we just have, what I believe is an incredible vehicle, and a very well-timed vehicle. So this is kind of one of the things that if you've ever seen Tony Robbins do the momentum cycle, right? He starts the momentum. It's 4 different charts, 4 different steps, 4 different charts. If you kind of draw a square and then draw 4 squares within a square, the first square is a representation of potential, right? Potential leads to action. Action leads to results. Results leads to belief. And then belief feeds back again into the recycle of potential, right? So it's, number one, you have to ask yourself, what is the potential that something has? And in this case, when it comes to Pruvit, we just happen to have a product and a technology that in most network marketing companies, what you'll typically find is a CEO or an owner or a group of people taking a technology, a service, a product that has been incredibly successful in the traditional business world, and they will be typically the first to infuse it or create another spin on it, and they'll bring it into this industry where more people, than just a corporate few can take advantage of it, right? That's typically, I would say, 99.9% of the time, that's how most network marketing companies get their product or their service. They take it from an already successful, it's already been proven out there in the traditional marketplace, right? In this instance, it was the complete and total opposite. We were the first ever company to bring a exogenous ketone to the consumer market. Okay. So what that means is that we were so far ahead of bringing this technology. And even right now, I mean, how many of you guys heard about ketones, exogenous ketones, prior to being introduced to Pruvit? Any of you? That's my point. How many of you are familiar with or have heard of, in any way, shape, or form, ketogenic dieting, low carb dieting, anything like that? Okay, so you're all perfect. That's what's so awesome, is that it typically happens, right? The first thing, the first exposure that most people have to keto anything is usually through diet. Okay, and anyone that I've ever asked that has successfully done a ketogenic diet will tell you that it was the most effective, most beneficial, most incredible results they've ever had, mentally, physically, emotionally, what have you. But then I will also typically ask them, well, you still doing it? No. Why? Because the world we live in, it's just too restrictive, right? It is. I mean, I love it, and I wish, but the problem is I go to you go to mom's house and it's over, right? You go out to eat, and it's over. It's a very hard diet to maintain. But the key is, listen, we are looking for the byproduct of what the diet creates ultimately, and that's ketosis. If you've ever fasted before, we are looking for the byproduct of what that fast creates, which is ketones in your bloodstream, which we already realize have not dozens, but hundreds of benefits. And when I say mentally, just getting into, cognition and neurological function and all those things, I mean, there are dozens and dozens of benefits literally just from the neck above. Neck down, we're talking about, not only are we talking about fat loss, not only are we talking about muscle retention, not only are we talking about protecting and preserving, like the list goes on and on and on, athletic performance, you name it. And what's awesome is that it's an incredible application across the board. But ultimately, whether you're fasting, whether you're following a ketogenic diet, whether you're following a modified ketogenic diet, whether you're high fat, low carb, any variation of that, we're all looking for the byproduct, which is just ketones in our bloodstream. That's it. That's what we're looking for. So for us, here's what's awesome. When we started, and by the way, there were a few companies that very quickly came behind us, traditional companies, and tried to launch an exogenous ketone. Here's the problem, is that when you have a technology or product that's so far, it's so early in its stage, nobody has no one has an awareness of it. Everyone lacks education around it. And here's what these companies were ultimately doing. They had to spend $1 million to get $100,000 in revenue. And obviously continuing down that path, that the question is how much money do you have to invest? And any business owner will tell you, right, that you can only spend it for so long to get those types of returns. And the reason the returns were so low is just because nobody nobody knew what the heck it was. So in this instance, that's why did we use, because I will be very transparent with you. When I first talked to Brian Underwood, who is our CEO, there were definitely discussions about what model do we want to use for this. Because at that time, he had a network marketing background. I had a network marketing background. The individuals that, were kind of brought on the inner circle of this had network marketing backgrounds. Two of the other co-founders and owners, one of them had a network marketing background. And the bottom line is the question you have to ask was, if we take this more of a traditional sales route or B2B or whatever, it's going to take a lot of energy when you can, and that's where we first decided to really change the model, because most products, most companies, here's what they do. And today, marketing is so good. Marketing teams are so incredibly good. I mean, you can get marketed into thinking something is the greatest thing in the world until you actually crack it open, use it, whatever. And it's like, wow, that seemed really good. It's like, you guys seen the documentary on the Fire Festival, right? You guys haven't seen that on Netflix or whatever, Fire Festival? No, any of you? Keith?
Yeah, then it fell through, right?
Yeah. Well, the thing is that, people were marketing. The most beautiful Instagram. Basically, all these people were being marketed the most beautiful accommodations, the most, you're going to be in paradise. This is whatever. And then it was to the point where all these people paid all this money and they showed up. And there were tents. There was, it was a massive letdown. But the point is the marketing was so good that, complete 180 of what they were expecting, right? My point is that most companies, they lead with marketing, they lead with their product, and it's, oh, here's the product, and oh, by the way, if you care, here's the education that goes with the product. The education is left in, behind everything. And it's almost like, if you care about it, or if you want to know about it or whatever, the education's back here. It truly does. In most instances, it gets lost. Okay. We decided to switch that model. We led with education. Why? Because education, knowledge is power, right? It inspires. It's what ultimately locks people in. And this is a conversation that people need to be educated about. There's another reason for that, is because, for instance, ketogenic dieting in and of itself, there's a movement of people that promote that diet. And the problem is that, hey, listen, if I told you that in order to reach ketosis and get all the benefits of ketosis, that you needed to eat 80% fat. If any of you are older than 30 years old, you have read articles, you have seen magazines, you have watched documentaries on how your arteries will clog, your heart will stop beating, and you will die if you were to consume too much fat. Everyone agree with me?
Yeah, it's the old school pyramid.
Yeah, right? The old school food pyramid. Absolutely. Right? So point being is that this conversation requires education in order to have understanding, in order to encourage belief. And that goes back to that momentum cycle. So number one, what is the potential of the industry? Well, listen, guys, this industry, I go back to my first statement, which is you can't, when you just hear the term network marketing and you say Amway, or you say, this or that or the other thing. And by the way, that's how I started my journey in network marketing, was in Amway. I grew out of it very quickly, and I come to the realization that there's a more efficient, more effective way to do things, but it was incredible education. But I don't want you got to understand, most people, they judge it based on their experience, right? If you walked into a church that was completely whack, and you never decided to step foot into another one, guess what? That is your perception of what church is. Okay. So with that being said, it's kind of the same way, but this industry has created more independently wealthy people than any industry that ever in existence. It is global. It has the ability to scale more rapidly than any outside of, winning the lottery. I've never seen a business scale as fast as this business. Cause I've got some crazy stories for y'all of companies, because the thing is it's about the energy and the belief around the people that are driving it. Right. And if you get the right people together, if you get the right leadership together, it can go quick. If you have the right conversation with the right timing, with the right product and the right support. So, back to the point of potential, the industry, I'm telling you guys, like I said, I have started traditional businesses. Real estate, everything that someone wants to invest in, and every way that you'd like to diversify your portfolio, I've done all of that with this industry. Okay. Nothing else. I can't, everything else has just gone to paying the bills. This is the only thing that's set me up with the ability to do that. So the industry, I think the potential is beyond there. Okay. Especially, by the way, I'm going to come back to that in a minute, especially in an economy like we're seeing right now. Number two is the company. Okay. Listen, the company is whatever you make it. The way I look at it is the company's the vehicle. Okay. Whether I'm going to be 1,000,000% transparent with y'all. Abigail and as people, we have differences. Some of the things that the company does, we don't agree with all of it typically, but ultimately what's awesome is we use the shopping cart method. What does that mean? It's like going down the aisle in a grocery store. We take what we need, and then what we don't want, we leave up on the shelf. Okay. And I'm telling you, every company comes with it, unless you're the one that's leading it, running it, and you have complete control. Someone is still going to ultimately disagree with you in some way, shape, or form, because they have a different style or they have a different whatever. What's awesome is I feel like it's the vehicle in and of itself is very powerful. It does any and everything that you want to do, okay, or anything and everything that you want to accomplish. And we have examples. We have off the chart examples, everything high, low, and in between. I can give you a multitude of examples, whether that's income, whether that's accomplishments, you name it. Be more than happy to share that with you. So the potential, I already know it's there because I've exercised the potential at its full capacity. Let me just say that. Okay. And then number three is ultimately it comes down to you. And that's the part that's unfortunately the thing that, I can't do for you. I can't figure out. Abigail can't do for you. She can't figure out. Some people, they participate in this industry for a short period of time. They unfortunately do think it is a, get rich quick type of deal. And just flat out, it's not. Okay. This is just like anything else you do, but I promise you, you can scale it much, much faster if you're willing to put in the. That's the problem. Output, your output and your input. So the difference is you actually have to work here. My simple feedback is this, is if you work this for 40 hours a week, you could scale this faster than anything you scaled in your life. Problem is most people, they jump into something like this and they give it an hour a week or 2 hours a week. And they expect it to, to rival their current occupation or, whatever. So bottom line is what you put. Now, there are situations where if you happen to introduce this to someone with more ambition, better work ethic than you, yeah, you can definitely, and Abigail and I know some people that they have won the lottery here. Essentially, they did a little bit of work, and that work led to somebody that, or a group of people that ultimately outworked them, and they're being rewarded for that. But ultimately, those people are making a heck of a lot more money than that person that introduced them, but that person that introduced them is being rewarded for that. And here's the thing. I mean, listen, if I had a Subway franchise and I introduced you to the franchise and I decided to stick with my one and you decided to go out and open 15, hey, listen, I'm going to get a small cut of that, for being the franchisee that introduced you to it, but you're going to make 15 times, if not more income than I am, period. Case closed, end of story. Like that's where this whole, old school pyramid idea that's you can't, that's just not the way the math works. Okay. You will be compensated in direct proportion to the work that you do and the value that you bring. And hey, if I had just in the beginning got Abigail enrolled, listen, I'd have a good solid residual income, I don't know exactly what that would be, but she would ultimately make more money than me, because she would have gone out and created a much stronger structure than I had. That potential leads to your action, right? Whatever potential you believe something has is going to be, it's going to feed the amount of action you're willing to take. Could be a little bit, could be a lot, could be, whatever. I will tell you, this is my personal belief, is that you first have to work hard in order to be able to know how to work smart. This model is smart work. It really is. But you first have to work hard to figure out how to work it smart. Meaning you're going to have to, in the beginning, just just be a little aggressive, throw a whole bunch of mud up against the wall until you figure out exactly what does stick. And then you want to, yes, exactly. You want to make a big mess, because that's the only way you're going to learn what you need to focus on and what is right, what is wrong. Obviously, Abigail and myself will be here to guide you and to give you a little bit of mentorship. And hey, listen, right now you got 1,000-foot view. We got a 10,000-foot view. Let me give you a little heads up of what's coming. I can see a little further down the road. You may want to avoid this. You may want to invest more of your time here and less of your time here. I'll do probably in the next week or two, I'll give you guys a breakdown of, 4 different scenarios. You get 12 people started right out of the gate, and I'll show you how they will take 4 completely and totally different paths. And the problem is that you will focus your time on the ones that are going down the wrong path. It's human nature. We are enablers. I don't want to ruin the training, but just understand that in some instances, how your brain and how your current background and experience it'll almost be a complete opposite of what you think you should be doing in order to help them, guide them, lead them. But at the same time, some of you may have some entrepreneurial experience and you have to understand a little bit of this as well. So potential to action leads to results, and then everything in this business rises and falls on your belief. If you believe it, you'll do more of it. You'll believe it has more potential. If you don't, you won't. That's how someone goes from making a couple $100 here to making a few $1,000 here to making a few 100,000 to making a few million. And that's just following that pattern. The greatest part about what we do, and I will tell you first and foremost, is that what most people do here is they overthink it. And I know that that's to be true, because out of 16 years in this industry, for the first 5 years, I completely overthought what needed to happen, what should happen, because we're taught that if you want to make a lot or do a lot, you have to create a lot, or you have to, and it's just, I just remember one time driving in my car from a long trip of getting a couple up and started, and a few different states away, and driving back, I just sat and it just hit me. I'm like, oh my God, all we do is just this and this. I'm like, what have I been thinking? I just got to do more of this and this. I literally just have to add more volume and more people, and the more volume and more people I add, the more it creates, right? And then I got to teach other people how to do the same thing. So we go through a coaching process called C1, C2, and C3 coaching. It's foundational coaching from Ken Blanchard. If you guys have ever heard of Ken Blanchard, he has a pretty incredible leadership and training management protocols, and that's the one that we use. And what I love is it's very simple. It's I do, you watch. Then C1 is I do, you watch. It's allowing Abigail to, in the beginning, tie your shoes for you. That's what it is. And that's some of the hardest part for some of you guys, because you just want to do it on your own. You want to get your own result. You're your own man, and you want to do it. And that's where I promise you that that'll be the hardest part, okay, is allowing someone else to do it for you in the beginning, or play more than a 51% role. Okay. Let's just put it that way. Let me, because some of you are very, 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 very capable, but it's almost like you need to put your phone in her hands and allow her to compose and not, it'll also help you not to prejudge. That's the first thing we'll do, is we'll prejudge who we want to have discussion with, what have you. Those that intimidate you should be the ones that you reach out to, by the way. But letting Abigail be more than 51% in the beginning is that's really, she needs to do as much as you let her do. So that's C1. That's, I do it, you watch. C2 is collaboration. You do it together, right? She does the first loop, you do the second loop, she pulls it around, you bring it through, you pull it tight together, and bam, you've accomplished it, together. C3 is that you do it and she's there to support it. That's when you can tie your own shoes. It's just that when you start running around after 5 minutes, they come loose, and she needs to show you how to double knot it, right? Or tie it a little tighter, or what have you. It's the same progression you would take with the development of your children. It's the same thing. And it's situational, meaning problem is that you think, well, just because you've gone through C1, C2, and C3 and tying your shoes does not mean that you're C1, C2, and C3 and driving a car, right? They're two totally different situations. So you have to be coached through a multitude of situations in order to get to where you're confident in being able to do it. And the problem is, and I'm just going to tell you, the number one failure that I see in this industry is that anyone that gets started, they go right, or you get someone started, they go right to C3. That they have no idea what to do. And as much as you want to tell them what to do, it doesn't automatically happen. Okay. Even if you are a self-starter. So you have to be willing to be coachable in the beginning to get through at least the basics. And as you advance through, you'll figure stuff out. Okay. Because ultimately this is more dealing with people. The actual technique and the work of what we do is so insanely simple. It's honestly, it's too simple. Okay. I started with 2 different teams earlier this year, and just helping them get back to simplification. Okay. Just get back. And all we did was just pick 3 days a week where we did attract. No, it wasn't broken down that way. It was growth. It was opportunity, growth, and leadership. I broke it down into 3 categories. What do I mean by that? Well, number 1 is opportunity, meaning you want to have people, you want to have a form of being able to share this opportunity with people. And you could do it in a lot of different forms and fashions, but I believe that a combination of things is definitely going to be the most powerful, meaning, you attract people to this conversation through a video, through a product, through the experience of another person, what have you. There's a lot of different ways to present this opportunity to someone. Now, biggest difference here is that we want a actual horse before the cart. In most of these network marketing businesses, everyone puts the cart before the horse. What do I mean by that? They pitch you on opportunity, and oh, by the way, here's the product, and oh, by the way, even if you even care, here's the education. You see what I'm saying? You're getting pitched on opportunity. You're getting pitched on opportunity for, for income, for resource, for, whatever that is. And then after you're pitched on that by that person, he's probably a very dynamic individual, blah, blah, blah. And then they pitch the company's background and the industry and blah, blah, blah. And then once they sell you on the opportunity, oh, by the way, here's the products that come with the opportunity. And then, oh, by the way, if you even care, here's the education that goes with the product to go with the opportunity. We are in complete reverse. Education, right? We lead with education. Education leads to an authentic willingness to want to, take the next step. This education is compelling me to take the next step, which in this case is the product. And when I take the product based on the education that I now, have a conviction from, now I have the opportunity to have an authentic, transparent experience with the product. Truly, right? I love the product. So what does that mean? That's true customer acquisition. That's our number one focus, is customer acquisition. From customer acquisition, then comes opportunity, because then it's real. Then here's an opportunity with a golden carrot. Here's a product with a golden carrot, right? I had an opportunity. I had a great experience. I truly believe in it. And someone has a great experience and they believe in something, they're going to share it, whether there's anything tied to it or not. They don't have to be incentivized.
Is that like the raving fans idea? Like, we're going to create raving fans before we're going to try to build them into
fan, player, coach. Yep.
Yes,
exactly.
Brian created this, and now the whole company uses it. So
yeah. So fans, players, then coach. I mean, that's a natural progression, guys. That's the real world. You are first a fan before you ever become a player. And I'm talking about on an actual level of, like, on a high level, right? You're first a fan, because you love the sport. You love what it is. You love whatever. So that makes you want to become a player, right? If you become a player and you excel at becoming a player, some people just stop and just stay a player. But some that are so passionate about becoming a player go on to become a coach, right? And that's where, because they have the desire to help other people, help players succeed. So it's that same type of progression, and it's the same thing here. Now, how quickly someone converts from an experience to an opportunity. Listen, guys, it could be within minutes. It could be within, hours. It could be within days, within weeks, within months, within years. I've had individuals that I've got on the product that have come back 4 years later and said, man, I want an opportunity. I've had others that, the conversation was literally being had while they were having an experience. I forcefully made them slow down and stop. I said, no, listen, bro, you are not getting started here. I refuse to sponsor you. I refuse to enroll you until you truly use the product. Like, and educate yourself a little bit more, right? I literally had to slow him down, because here's the thing. What you do unto others is exactly what they're going to do. That's the problem with this industry. It's good and bad. People are going to get started exactly how you get them started. Good and bad will both be replicated here. If you get people started and you put them, you get them started based on opportunity and go straight to CW3 with them, guess what they're going to do? They're going to pitch opportunity and right straight to C3. Hey, tie your own shoes. I'm just telling you that you can build that through excitement for sure, but it'll hit a wall, and it'll hit a wall quick, and it'll go negative really quick, because you just have a whole bunch of excited people that have no idea what the heck they're doing.
And Brian, just for the time being, we are steamrolling right now because of the opportunity for business and income.
Yep.
And I know you've had situations, and I know this is what this group is doing. We have been like, okay, you're going to watch the video, and they're like, Dr. Charlie hasn't even got product in, but he's certainly already, we know he does not feel sold. He absolutely believes Keith. He believes Philip. He's, borrowing their confidence and doing their research. I know there are certain times and seasons where this happens.
Yeah. But the thing is, Dr. Charlie, if you don't believe in the product and you think the product sucks, at some point you will hit a stopping point very hard. You'll hit a wall, and you're not going to be able to go past that wall. You better hope that other people have the belief that you don't have, right? But it's okay. Like there's no doubt, but you should honestly put yourself in a very realistic situation and say, hey, like, let me focus on it's you got to take one step back to take two steps forward is exactly what it is. Okay. Not because in all transparency, when Abigail and I got started, there was no product. There was nothing. There was a conversation and a concept. And we knew at some point, because honestly, there was a point where my mom was super holistic and we were thinking about putting a, chemical sugar substitute in it. And I got all riled up, and then other people got riled up, and but we eventually course corrected and whatever. There were some decisions that were made at the beginning where I don't know if I could have been behind the product, but you know what? We talked it through, we worked it out, and it all went exactly the way it was supposed to go. But the point is that at that point in the opportunity, there's no doubt if I felt that, if there was something done that that conflicted with me internally, I probably would not have gone down this road, is my point. Just kind of backing it up real quick. And this is what I said I was going to say earlier, is that in this economy, this is the greatest thing about this model. And this is why I love it. And this is why after 16 years, I was in the industry. Well, shortly thereafter, 9/11, I was in the industry at the economic downturn of 2008, right? I've been in the industry through all of these. And here's what is so awesome. When the economy's good, customer acquisition is up. When the economy is down, promoter acquisition is up. Like, you have the ability to gain consumers, and you also have the ability and an opportunity for producers. Like, it is the ultimate it's recession proof. It truly is, because you can always, and then what's great is I say when the economy's up, it's, you will typically find that you will have more customers and more people are buying and whatever. And when we hit times like this, everybody's looking for an opportunity. And you want to take advantage of the climate. I don't say take advantage in a bad way, but understanding that, listen, people are going to be hurting. These next couple of months, an extra $500 will be a really big deal. An extra $1,000 will be a really big deal. And if they have something they believe in, and that's what's crazy, is I think we all do things and we all have things, products, services, or whatever that we love. There's no doubt about it. Apparel, other things, right? Like, I wish, Lululemon would pay me. I wish Mercedes-Benz would pay me. I wish Apple would pay me, but they don't. I love all of their stuff. And to be honest with you, I've sold so much of their stuff. It's incredible. It really is. And we just, unfortunately, we don't have those opportunities. Most people don't have the opportunity to turn their actual passions into profit. They will always stay hobby based, right? Or you will remain a fan of those things, and very rarely will you have an opportunity to be able to play. So, so when it comes down to the work of this, and like I said, Abigail, I have no idea where you want me to go with all this. I didn't even really ask you more specifically for outcomes, so I'm just going to kind of roll, just expecting that I don't ever do anything once, so I just expect that I'm going to see you guys over and over again, and we can progress as we go. But action steps, right? Attraction, connection, enrollment. I break it down into opportunity, growth, and leadership, because those are really the three foundations. And within those three are groups of three. In opportunity, we talk about, these different factors. Taking the challenge. That's right now how we're getting people started using the product, right? Take the challenge. Why? Because it's a lot more serious and it's a lot more fun. It's a lot more engaging than try a sample. Okay. just take a simple challenge, right? Take a challenge. It's just in nature. The words are, are more serious, right? So take the challenge. Converting from a 10-day challenge into, taking ketones daily, and then into rebooting monthly. It's in all three of those are actually points of attraction and opportunity for you to bring customers into this conversation, because all three represent a different opportunity, because you're doing something that you can educate other people on how it would be beneficial for them to do it as well. Right? But there's a process here. You want to start a replicatable. I use the term replication instead of duplication. I believe that duplication, unfortunately, I feel like it's too open to, I'm not trying to, Philip, we don't need any more Philip Kellys. There's one, and there should only remain one.
That's
God
right.
made him individual, with his own
You broke the
fingerprints
mold. Come
and
on.
his own DNA and his own everything. However, the good things that Philip does, we want people to replicate those actions. We want people to replicate those results. We don't need to duplicate Philip. We need to replicate his good actions. We need to replicate his good results. We need to replicate his good beliefs, right? So replication. So you want to do things that other people can replicate. That's where some of you that have a very creative mind, you're going to have to tone down that creative a little bit. Why? Because this business is more like making toothpicks than it is, inventing a new series of, a new design of car. A new design of car requires a lot of creativity. Making a toothpick, listen, guys, it ain't ever going to change. A toothpick is a toothpick is a toothpick is a toothpick. That's what we're doing. Okay, something very simple that's replicated over and over and over and over again. So start with a 10-day. You go from a 10-day challenge into pick your daily method of operation. What's it going to be? What's your combination of ketones and products that are going to be most beneficial for your outcomes and what you're trying to accomplish? What is that going to look like? What's that going to be? And then, just like a computer that gets, cluttered, we need to reset. We need to reboot, just like the same thing with our bodies. And that's what's great. Now, how much you commit to that reboot's completely up to you. But understanding that, if you do it, you will have if you have the intention to do something, that's where you'll put your attention, right? Intention is followed by your attention. And if you're putting your attention on something, you can now have other people, brought into that mix. Okay. And then you just rinse and repeat. It's now recycled, right? Next month we go right back into it. And the only thing that drops off is we don't need to do another 10-day challenge. Maybe we do if we're failing in our consistency. But for the most part, you now go back to the operation of just, ketones daily, every single day, right? Every single day. Then that leads to, I kind of break it down just that simply. Start on a 10-day challenge, take the challenge, move from a challenge into, ketones daily, move from ketones daily to reboot monthly. And now that you are getting results, now that you believe in the product, you have to make a determination. Do I want to make part-time income? Do I want to make full-time income? Or do I want to make get-rich income? How do I do that? If I want to make part-time income, I literally just follow I introduce people to the exact same process I just went through. The challenge, ketones daily, reboot monthly. If I want to make full-time income, I get a whole bunch of people making part-time income. If I want to get rich income, I gotta help a bunch of people go full-time. That's it. I mean, it is a gradual progression. The more full-time people you have, the more money that you will make. It's really that simple. Okay. And the great thing about this is actually, I believe that the opportunity is greater today than it was when we first started. And the reason is because, I can't tell y'all how many people have messaged me in the last 6 months saying, oh my God, I wish I would have got started back. Oh my God, I wish when you first said. Now here's the thing, you got to understand. I try to tell them, listen, the opportunity is better today than it was before. We had limited products. Some of them were not the greatest. We've grown a lot. We've developed a lot. And actually there are more people now knowledgeable about ketogenic dieting and the benefits of it. And therefore, there's more people that have done it. There's no more skepticism around the diet. There's no more skepticism around the results. So what's that mean? That means more people are willing to get the byproduct, that end result of what the diet creates or fasting creates. And we have the ability to deliver that instantaneously through a product. So they're going to be more people now have experienced the diet, which means more people now will ultimately be open to. We almost got to the part in the beginning of this, guys. It was terrible. Now, it was great for Abigail because that was her background for the longest time. It was no problem for her to get people on meal plans and drive more of the diet conversation to get them to the point where they believed in the results of the diet to be able to then take the product. That's what it was in the beginning. It was us having to take people through what they've already now naturally gone through because society and trends have taken them through that already. But most of them, as I mentioned, and that's still how I start the conversation. Hey, Abigail, what do you know about ketones or ketosis? Oh, that's real funny. Just, last year around after Christmas, I did a ketogenic diet. I got one of my dad's best friend, man. He ordered $800 worth of products from me, like a month ago. Because they told me, I met him for the first time this past summer, and he said, Brian, every single year from January to April, I do super strict ketogenic dieting. Then he said, as we move into the summer, I'm done. And then Thanksgiving and Christmas brings it to its peak, and then he goes back to it again. We had this conversation. I said, how do you feel? I said, what if you could stay in ketosis the entire year? And you could still fall off the diet after your period of time. He said, I'd be interested in that. Well, it's January, February, March, starting here in it's March. Wow. It's March 25th. My goodness. Okay. Starting here in another week, he's now going to transition off the diet and just taking ketones. But here's what's great. He's used ketones the entire time. He said, Brian, this is the easiest 90 days, 3 months of this diet I've ever had. And I've been doing this now for, I thought he said 5 years. So, you know what I mean? Like it's awesome. Like that's why I say the opportunity truly is better now than it was when we first got started. Because the more people that you talk to, the more people that are going to respond to that, to that question as, oh yeah, I'm familiar, or I read an article, or I did. Hey, have you done it? It's an easy conversation to have after that. It's, or how was the diet? Oh man, it was really rough, or, it was really rough, but my gosh, I lost more weight than I ever lost in my life, or I felt better than I've ever felt in my life. Then it's really, so do you still do it? No, man, it was just, I loved it, man. I loved how I felt, but man, I had my piece of cake and I went to my son's birthday party and had a cookie, and it went all downhill from there. All 30 pounds that I've lost, I've now, put it all back on. Hey, what if you could still get that end result of the goal without, of what you were trying to obtain without having to go through the strict nature of the diet? Because here's what happens. I don't try to tell people, I'm like, dude, diet however you want. When you start taking ketones, I don't know, Philip, if you found this yet, or any of you guys that are taking ketones, Michael, is that you will naturally just start to make different decisions. It's harder to binge. It's harder to, like, when your body's in a state of ketosis, things are going to start, habits and behaviors are going to start naturally, it's just going to do its thing, I guess is the best way to put it. It's just going to do its thing. You're not going to want as much caffeine. You're not going to overeat. You're not going to, do all those things.
Yeah, it's I've always admired people who could like stay on such a strict, whether it's a physical diet or a workout routine or whatever. Like I've just been mesmerized by, world class athletes, and I'm like, man, I wish I had that. And I feel in the last month and a half, I have those. It's like you just have a secret that nobody else understands. But and for me, I can't quite explain it, but I can't deny it. And that's why I'm looking forward to being in this business, is because I'm consuming a product that I love, that I believe in, and that product, oh yeah, by the way, makes me a better person. Therefore, it makes me a better leader. leader and a better recruiter, and that flywheel just keeps going and going and going. And why wouldn't, like, it for me is just like the aha, like, of course I would do that.
Sure.
But I don't know. I still can't explain it. And I tell people that, I'm like, look, I don't know, but I do know.
Yeah. And that's a way to, and you're looking for other people. Like remember, people have different levels of commitment. Like I said, I mean, you're going to have people that want to do this very passively. You're going to have individuals that want to do this and realize the potential of, I mean, doing this full time versus whatever else they were spending their time doing. And then, and the great part about it, when I said, how do you go full time? You help a bunch of people go part time. How do you make a ton of money? You help a bunch of people go full time. What's great is your time commitments, you just have to figure that, and they never really change. Meaning, like when you go full time, it's actually, this is where you'll need the most coaching you've ever had, because you will free up, the income will have freed up more time than you've ever had. And now you're going to have a hard time managing more time. I mean, Abigail and both of us, the reason I got, guys, I've been financially independent for a very long time now. And I've accomplished actually with Pruvit every goal that I've ever wanted to accomplish outside of one. And I decided to go after that one by, I mean, I now have basically 3 companies, and it's my time. I have very little of it, but it's awesome because I am insanely productive during that period of time. But when you take somebody that's not used to having a lot of time, because when you take people through, I mean, it's just like graduating kids out the house. Like, it's like, I had all this responsibility and now I don't have any anymore. It's kind of like the same thing. When you take people through enough situations of C1, C2, C3, they don't need you anymore. Like Abigail actually, if I was to jump into a C1 or C2 application in Abigail's business, I would actually hurt it more than help it. I kid you not. Because there's things that she does that are more active and more relevant than what I'm doing. I'm operating in a different place on a different level, so I can add value. But if you wanted to say, hey, Brian, this is what the exact stuff I'm getting back or whatever, I'd defer to Abigail, because I'd say she gets these responses, 10 times a day. I don't. I could give you a pretty good idea, but I would defer to Abigail if she disagreed. So, point of saying that is that you will free up a lot of time to be able to do whatever you want as you progress through that period of time, because you're going to get people that, the goal is, I mean, I keep using the church example, but you don't want everyone to stay in the same place. You want go, right? Like once you're able to go. And I don't want to, you're going to have a different style than me. You're going to have a different the fundamentals are going to be the foundation, and those are never really going to change, but the style in which it's done, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do this business, guys. You could be more, but you could be 90%, face-to-face, belly-to-belly, 10% tech. You could be 90% social media and much less, it's whatever. It's like, dating. Some people, do it, they one way, some go on online dating, some go to the bars, some go to the whatever. I mean, there's a lot of ways to attract people, a lot of different, routes that you could take. Does it mean you need to be heavier on one side than another? No, because I think the more you can diversify, the more you can help other people, because typically you'll tend to attract a lot of what you are. So, if you lack social media expertise or whatever, it would be good to lean into a little bit of it, to get a little bit more training of it, knowing that, hey, that's just another opportunity to attract more people to this conversation. I'm a believer that it's very, I've got people as part of my organization that 99.9% of their business is all social media based. They never have even met probably 75% of the people. Maybe, even then, I mean, the people that they meet at events or whatever is probably the only time that they've ever met them. And there's a lot that they haven't met, but There's others like myself. I mean, I kind of flew around the globe just getting face to face with people. Now, maybe I met them through social, but it's kind of like, I guess, if I was online dating, eventually I would want to actually, see them. I would actually want to at some point get, right. So that's kind of the whole point. But I truly believe it's a good balance of all of those things. But like I said, the fundamentals never change. Abigail teaches them better than anybody. The processes that we use, the opportunities that we have to attract people to the conversation, all of the resources that we have to connect. You either connect people to products, connect people to resources, connect people to people, which is still the most effective, by the way. We want to connect people to as many third party. And here's the ultimate. And I want to make mention of this because some of you are going to have a problem with this as well. You don't want, even if you know it all, you don't want to let people know that you know it all. You want to, if you want to replicate quickly, you can't be the man or you can't be the woman. You want to rely on resources. You want to teach a man to fish, not give him one, because that's really easy to do here, by the way. Very, very, very easy to do here. You want to, because that's the thing, like, after all this time and all this study, I mean, I could sit if we were on a 3-hour plane ride somewhere, I could razzle you and dazzle you and educate you on levels in which you never, I could break through every barrier, every issue that you've ever had when it comes to diet, ketones, anything. Here's the reason why I absolutely refuse. Because while you will have been benefited by me doing that, essentially, it will stop with you. You will be then too intimidated or think you need to know more than you actually do, or have to have all this training or skill or razzle dazzle in order to take what I just shared with you and share it with somebody else. Does that make sense? Like, you will disempower people if you act like too much. Like, seriously, that's why I rely on resources. I still tell people to this day, you want to learn more about it? Hey, watch this quick 4-minute video. Let me know if it makes sense. Then I'll spring another resource on you. Then I'll spring another resource on you. Maybe the resource will be catered towards your background or your outcome, something specific. I typically love to find things that are, directly related to the outcome you want to have or an issue that you're having or whatever. I'll connect you to that resource. Then I'll also try to find the person that I feel you most relate best with. That's the whole reason I'm here, right? Reason I'm here is because, this dynamic, I don't see any, usually, just so you know, this is awesome because for 5 years now, 5.5 years, I am usually one of very few men that are present on these Zooms and meetings or whatever. So that's obviously another, Abigail's doing exactly that thing. She's connecting you to a person. In this case happens to be me, which maybe she feels is more relatable to you in certain situations, scenarios that she could be. And then when you get somebody started, you just have to focus. This is the last thing I'll say, and then I'll shut up and you guys can ask questions. But you got to think of it this way. And this is it's also something that's kind of hard to understand. I look at it as, listen, you have 100% of people, right? 80% out of 100 is going to be people that do this very part-time, very passively, or they're just plain old consumers. Okay. They participate on the lowest level possible. They just use the product. That's going to be 80% of your business. Okay. Then that leaves 20%. Okay. Or if you want to be mathematically correct, 18%, that they're going to be much more intentional about, what they do, how they do it. They are going to want to pursue, a full-time or higher level income. They're the ones that, they're going to do more than the average. They're going to do more than, and they're going to be willing to and wanting to. Then you have your 2%, and that's the individuals like Abigail, like myself, like, you could tell us whatever you want to tell us. There's no quit in us. We have our goals. We have what we want to accomplish. Honestly, doesn't matter what the vehicle is, whatever. We're going to perform. We're going to rock it. Like, we're going to. Those are your super. Thing is that, and this is the tricky part. If I can get the 80% of people or even the 20% of people to just do a small amount, it will still beat the handful of people that do a crazy amount. Let me give you an example. If I can get 80 people to just bring on 2 new people this month, okay, do the math, right? 80 people, right? Bring on 2 new people, right? You do and obviously they said, so that's 80, 80, and 80. Or I get one superstar like Abigail, 2%, the 2 people out of there to go bring on 10. Who wins?
80.
Right? Well, yeah, those 2 superstars, they brought on 10 people. Great, that's 20. Right? But when 80 replicated just one time, just a small amount, that's where you got to be careful. That's why this isn't for you guys that have traditional sales backgrounds. You cannot just cater to your suit. You'll blow everybody else out of the water. They won't be relatable. I treat them almost as different categories and people and understanding. I have different language with them. I have different, different goals for them. I have different, does that make sense? So these are all things I don't want to get too far ahead, I'm just, giving you a little bit, giving you as much as I possibly can, without confusing you. Cause I don't want to do that either. Everyone's got to go through their process and you'll learn this all along the way. But at the same time, you got a lot of, learning to do. This isn't, most people can't even understand how you could make, $2 million a year doing this and not have a degree or not have this incredible amount of experience or background or knowledge or whatever. So, I've got girls that make 7 figures a month and they have had 0 experience. I mean, she was like a secretary, like that's it. That's her level of experience. Like, so you got to develop, she's developed it along the way. She's been incredibly coachable. She followed the system and, yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Mhm.
Abigail, anything that I missed or anything else you wanted me to
No,
cover?
I really feel like that was such good foundation, because I know every single one of these men on here are high level thinkers. They want it. They're trying to strategize right now. And I just feel like you spoke their language, and I know each of them could track with you, right, guys? You were all tracking. This was the conversation I think that they needed to hear. So it was phenomenal. It was very appropriate for this group.
You guys have any
No.
questions?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
I do. So first of all, want to apologize for being late. Was working
I guess I should be the one that apologized for being late. Yeah.
But I appreciate everybody's time. It was awesome. So I just had one question. You said you had one goal left. What's that goal that you have left? Or one that you haven't accomplished?
Net worth of $100 million.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I knew it was going to be something like that.
Yeah, it was it's the last unchecked one off. Now I got time to do it, but I decided to get a little bit more aggressive in my timeline of accomplishing. I put a 5-year date on it, which is why I've launched 2 companies in the last 2 years. With, like I said, it's all been possible because of what I've been able to do here. So yeah,
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thanks.
And I will tell you, what he did here, I love watching his story, because Brian develops leaders, and it's the reason why he has been able to go launch 2 companies, is because my conversations with him are pretty much all C3. He puts so much in. He's the one who, if you went halfway, he went halfway with you. If you went all the way, he went all the way with you. And by that, I brought in some Canadians. I think Brian spent a week in a car living with some of my Canadian leaders out in the cold, in the middle of nowhere towns, going from point to point to point where people would bring 3 people, 10 people, 15 people. he swept under me and helped firm up the foundation of my business. And then he found another woman who put in 100, and he met her and started traveling all. Brian has always been in our hometown. He's flown, he's drove, he's lived with us. He put everything in, and that's why he could go do 2 other businesses, is because we all had everything it took to keep the ball rolling. And so the leadership development, each and every one of you have that skill.
Well, like the Canadian, the person I went through Canada with for an entire week, literally lived in a car, went through a snowstorm, to it. Like, that person's not even around anymore. But what's funny is it locked in the commitment that I had, locked the person in that I went, whose business they were in, and they're still around. They're still doing really well. Some of the people that came from the production of that are still like, I mean, listen, we throw them out. I do what I'm supposed to do, and I let God sort it out, type of deal. You know what I mean? Like, hey, like, I'm not here. I'm here to do the work, and I know it's seeds planted, and some are gonna go, and some aren't. I don't worry about that. But back to Abigail said, and you guys, the only reason I know what to do and how to do is because I have messed it up so badly, so terribly badly. I mean, the only reason that I do truly have a leadership based strong residual type is because for my first 10 years, I drove this industry with ego, wanting to be the machine versus building a machine. Like, I did it all the wrong ways. And sometimes it's hard because you do get sucked into the spotlight and what have you. But I promise you, if you'll get, this will be something definitely as a leadership thing down the way, but when you learn how to deflect it into the people that need it and want it, you know, you can do some really good stuff here. And that's where, you know, that's the only reason I need to know how to do it right is because I've done it wrong more times than I've done it right.
Hey, Brian, first of all, thank you, man. This is fantastic. I feel, yeah, did Jen tell you that I text her? Because I was watching all your videos and I'm like, I know Jen, like she used to be my trainer.
Got it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And so I just texted her, I was like, I'm so happy for you guys. And, you know, crazy small world.
Yeah, no, it is, isn't it? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So, okay. So we are in a very unique climate right now. You know, I know 3 of us, and I don't know where Michael is on this, but, you know, we're trying to launch a business. And I know that for me, I got my back up against a wall. I am all in, especially in this really weird season. How would you approach launching in the next, you know, I'm 25 days in.
Mm-hmm.
I have a pretty good network, but I know I got, you know, you have one chance to make a good first impression. So I don't want to screw it up, but I don't want to let off the gas. So
you this is where you have to dismiss. I mean, this isn't school, man. You're not going to get graded A, B, C, D, or A, B, C, D, or F. That's not how it works here. So you can't. It's kind of that whole thing I used to talk about all the time. Like, listen, success is not over here and failure is over here. They're not in opposite directions. Success and failure are both over here. Success and failure, you got to go through one to get to the other, no matter which direction that you go. So my point of saying that is that, you know, in this season, which is absolutely crazy. You don't change. There's nothing in the process and there's nothing in the steps that you change. The key is are you willing to take more repetitions? Are you willing to, you know, to instead of shooting 1 layup, are you willing to shoot 10, right? Are you like, it's not about, do you change? We're not changing any of our structure here. Maybe the strategy changes a little bit, whereas you become a lot more intentional about having the opportunity conversation in conjunction with the experience and product conversation, or maybe even in some instances, they kind of come together a little bit, but at the same time, you have to be careful because you still, like I said, if somebody's doing something unauthentic or for the wrong reason or the whatever, that's what they're going to do to other people. And still in this day and time, I mean, like I said, I mean, think about this. This thing is, there's two things that are very evident, right? Number one, if you want to survive, you need to be healthy, very healthy, right? That's, I mean, come on, that's what we stand for in every way, shape, or form, and in a more disruptive and aggressive manner than any other health application on planet Earth. Guys, this ain't vitamins. This is nutritional technology. That old BS of products. I want you to start using that term, nutritional technology. Like this isn't just some vitamin formulation or some amino acid profiles or something like that. It really is some very in-depth, very disruptive, incredible health technology. So right now, more than anything, people will be willing to invest in their health, because right now, if they don't, it truly is a life or death. Well, at least the way the media is going to portray it is it's truly a life or death, situation. Number two is economically, right? People are hurting. And, we've seen very quickly, I mean, I kind of joke, I don't joke about it, I mean, because it was my life for longer than it's not been, is, living paycheck to paycheck. Well, for those of you who don't realize, our economy lives paycheck to paycheck as well. You guys realize that 4 weeks ago, companies were having the best year to date, the best pace, the best first quarter that they have ever had. And 4 weeks later, they're on the edge of bankruptcy. That is insane. I'm not sure if you've ever watched the Ray Dalio, how our economy works. But if money is not changing hands constantly, then we got a problem. And we've seen that. We've seen the outcome of that here over the past few weeks. There's about to be $2 trillion. I don't even know how to add that up. I don't even know how to put that many circles on it. There's about to be over $2 trillion that is infused into our economy. And I mean, there are people that were going to retire that are no longer going to retire. I could give you so many different situations. And the thing is that it's not just going to immediately go back to normal. And even if it did, now you have a conversation to have to say, hey, are you prepared for when it happens again? I can't tell you how many people right now are so grateful. They weren't even making full-time income, guys. They were working a job, maybe making $4, $5, $6 a month, and they were making an extra grand or two here. They had a second stream of income. So, but I'm telling you, it's a big difference when you lose that source of income and you can fall back on nothing versus losing that stream of income and having another stream to fall back on. You know what I mean? Like, I could spin this 100 different ways. But because right now, like I said, it's not about if it's going to happen again. It's about when it's going to happen. It's going to, is it going to be more aggressive? Is it going to be more like, listen, you truly have something that, what's funny is nothing from last month to this month. You couldn't see, if you assessed my business, my volume, my whatever, you could not, the change that the rest of the world's going through, you would not even be able to see a spike or change in my volume or my business. It's literally, there's nothing any different. 25 days into the month, there's nothing really different than it was the month before that. Like that's
Wow.
crazy. So, but there's a lot of conversation to have with a lot of people. This opportunity doesn't discriminate age, race, gender, maybe a little bit on gender, guys. You may be a little bit behind the 8 ball on that one, but don't bro out on this thing either. Right. I will tell you, problem is like, especially when it comes to couples, if you're going to share the opportunity with a couple because the husband, don't alienate the wife or don't make it about a his or her thing. I'm telling you, you guys are doing yourself a great injustice because her friends will do more volume than his friends. The problem is with guys, like we'll we'll judge it, we'll do all this other stuff. Like, you know, we're not as social, we're not as just trust me on this one. You want to connect. If I was y'all, I would connect every female in your life or that you know, whatever, to Abigail, and I would do it often. I would do it excessively and often.
Good. It's good
Hey,
stuff.
Brian, not to take this in too far of a different direction, but I am digging everything about this. I feel like a kid with his first book of matches, and I'm just striking them everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I keep running into one. I feel like I've handled most conversations pretty well, but when someone is already in an MLM platform in the fitness sector, or somebody is related to somebody, well, my sister sells this coffee that does this or whatever. How do you approach that with integrity and not try to talk them out of anything? You just kind of let it be, or what's a good play for that?
You know, I think that when you ask the question, the opportunity will automatically present itself, meaning you'll find out very quickly. Like, listen, if someone is very committed to what they're doing, I don't want to take them off course. I don't want to, you know, sometimes it's just having, like you said, going back to the integrity of the process. It's, you know, what do you know about this? You take them down the same route in the conversation. They say, hey, I'm, you know, hey, that's awesome. Awesome. No big deal. Like they have to know, because here's the thing though, just because they're happy with that company or that experience today doesn't mean they will be in 2 months from now, doesn't mean they will be in 6 months from now, doesn't mean, you know what I mean? That's a seed planted. And typically, listen, I mean, if you're a Ford dealership and you're trying to go recruit off the Chevy lot, good luck, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're just going to naturally be defensive because probably a part of their sales process is to degrade you, degrade you. It's like, how do you go back on what you told a whole bunch of people? You know what I mean? That's just what it is. I mean, if you play for a team, man, some stuff has to really start going wrong for you to go to another team, right? I don't know if that's the way you meant or the frame, but then I also would help people understand that I go back to using the analogies, you know, just because you went to a gym doesn't mean all gyms are the same. Just because you went to a church doesn't mean all churches are the same. Like, you have to understand each and every one is so uniquely different. It's crazy.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, where I was going with this is I know everybody's perception of doing well is different. And sometimes people are like, oh, I'm doing great with this. I'm making $6,000 a month. It's like, well, politely, you could be doing a lot better than that. And that's not necessarily great, you know, in trying to really bring people out of, you know, you get into the working world and you make you make $6,000 and you hit $100,000 and suddenly you start climbing up the ranks and you're like, oh man, I finally made it. And you kind of start to cap yourself. Busting people out of that cap is something that some of the circles that I'm running in, I'm trying to open people's eyes. And they're just like, no, you're happy where you're at. Showing people the light with this, if they're already, I just see some great candidates out there that I'm trying to flip.
Sure. Well, you gotta, like, that's one thing you're going to have to get out of your head. Like, here's the reason why, Keith, is that, you know, I don't like to, because even just that approach, you know, that $6,000, you think that's a lot. Like, I would, you don't want to create friction. You want to do, I would just say, man, that is awesome. Well, what's your goal? Like, what are your goal? What's your goal income?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't, because you know, and then that's awesome. $6,000, your goal is $20,000. Do you feel like this, you know, you do some more work with this vehicle, whatever, that's going to get you to that goal where you want to go? Awesome. Fantastic. Like, I'm just kind of playing a little bit of devil's advocate. I'm just, you know, I'm not trying to, you know, because listen, my dad's better than your dad. My dad's stronger than your dad. It just doesn't get you anywhere. Right. That's where I like to get into questions. Like, I'll probably ask a series of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 questions. I don't want to make any statements. I just want to ask questions and navigate around, you know, what happened. Because sometimes too, some people, it's their ego that won't they want you to think they're doing good, but they're really not doing as good. And if you can ask the right questions, be a little bit more compassionate, and they start to let the walls down, you find out very quickly that maybe they're not as happy as you thought. It's all in your approach, right? So, but having that mentality, I want to flip some good people over. I don't want people really that can be flipped over, because I'm like, well, if it was easy for you to flip that much from here, how easy is it going to be for somebody else to flip you somewhere else on the next shiny object, right? So you'll have those opportunities. If you ask the question, you'll have those opportunities, and they'll ask to speak, and that's where you say, well, let me introduce you, to Abigail. Let me introduce you, and you can have, she can tell right away within 10 seconds of a conversation whether somebody's open or not, or she's just had enough conversations and she has the intuition to know, no, you want to leave this alone, or, hey, there may be some potential here, or, oh yeah, it was just about that person just want a little bit of relatability and know what to expect. And she's well versed enough to see the big things. We're just transparent. I can't, I want to be guaranteed that, well, I'm sorry, but the first thing is I can't guarantee you anything. I can just tell you that this is a more attractive conversation than I think what that is. And what that yields is more opportunities, and more opportunities leads to, a heck of a lot more potential. Like, that's really what it comes down to. So,
And
but,
I want to add to that. Sometimes with those types of people, I don't present the opportunity to, because that's exactly what they think I am talking to them for. And so I will go strong in with the health conversation.
or the product, and then they're like, oh my God, this product is way better than the product I'm spending all day trying to pitch to people. I got more, excuse me.
Yeah. And the other thing, Keith, is I had a mortgage woman on the phone the other day, one of the biggest hustlers I know. And she's so busy right now. So money may not be her ticker right now because her business is so saturated. But you know what? I know a woman's heart. And after 3 weeks of her not seeing her children or being able to be at home for family dinners, she may see an opportunity through my lifestyle of what she could also have, and then pull back on. Sometimes money is not the ticker. And for me right now, you could offer me $1 million, and I've come to the point where if I don't get to pick my daughter up at 3:20, I'd rather live on $10,000 a month. Now, 4 years ago, show me the money. But
Right.
I've come to a different speaking point of my necessities. And so take it off the table sometimes, guide them slower through the product process to the free product, to let them tell you, say no.
Yeah. I've got this chiropractor, and she's not selling it, but she's using her sister's, like, some coffee stuff. And she's like, yeah, I looked into the brand. It looks great, but my sister would kill me if I started using that. It's like, oh, it'd be perfect in your office. But
Just get her on it and loving it. Don't convince her.
Yeah, that's the process. Sorry, guys, I don't have the coronavirus, so I just sucked a piece of meat down my windpipe. Yeah. Yeah, Abigail's spot on. Like, you got to take a product approach, because, I think that our product, our technology, and education behind it is strong enough alone to make people rethink what they're doing. But that's the thing too. Like, there are plenty of other people situation. Like, don't hone in on what you think your perfect group of people is, because honestly, I've had more success in my organization with people that have had no network marketing experience, that have had no, business experience. They just were hungry. They wanted a win, and they were willing to follow the process and not prejudge anything, and not, so it's the hardest thing. Don't prejudge it, because the ones that you think won't. The ones that you think won't will, and the ones you don't know about, well, neither do they. Neither do we. Right? You just got to go through the process.
Hey, Brian, what about, okay, so I feel like I'm a month in, I'm starting to create curiosity with videos, posts. I haven't been on social media in 3 years. So that was a first step is I had to like get back on it. And I realized, my daughter's fishing out back. It's great. I realized that there's a lot of people who can be influenced. But how do I make the jump? Because right now I'm not promoting anything. I'm just like, hey, message me. I have a story. I would love to work with you. Kind of like what Abby says, it's not the slobbering dog, it's the cat that creates curiosity. Kind of looking at you sideways.
First off is understanding, listen, you gotta, here's how I treat social media, Facebook, so whatever. For me, it's like a big room full of people. It's a big room full of people. I would never go into a big room full of people and say, yo, I got the greatest product and opportunity you've ever seen. Everybody would think I'm a freaking weirdo. You know what I'm saying? I would come up, I would find somebody that looks related to me, that's got a smile on their face. I would come and I would have a conversation. Hey, so Charlie, man, how you doing, man? We haven't seen each other in a while. It's been a while. We just curious, man. I've been following some of your stuff, or I saw you just started CrossFit or whatever. Just curious, dude. What do you know about ketones and ketosis? Or what you know what I mean? Like the thing I'm trying to say, Philip, is that by going out and just throwing a post on social media is like throwing a Hail Mary. And unless you're Aaron Rodgers, who seems to have a really high percentage of completions by throwing Hail Marys, but still they've been dropped more than they've been caught, if you know what I'm saying. That's a Hail Mary. Like you don't, you're not Kim Kardashian, who can throw up, hey, here's an awesome product, try and 20,000 people buy it. That's even then 20,000 out of a following of 20 million is not a good statistical conversion, if you know what I'm saying. Right? If Kim Kardashian personally messaged everybody, every single person would buy it. She just ain't going to take the time, energy, and effort to do it. But you understand, her conversion rate would be like 80%. It'd be crazy. Hey, honey, come here. So that's one thing you got to understand, and that's where Abigail can. Now, you can start putting things out there that you're not even looking to get a. See, the thing is when you put something, hey, I got something great going on, message me right away. That is a key. That's a key indicator for me that, Philip, I probably will not only message you, but I'll probably even stop talking to you one-on-one. Just, you know what I mean? It's canned. It's not authentic. It's not whatever. Now, if you were, hey, man, I'm out back fishing with my daughter and you just happen to have ketones in the video, you don't even mention it. You just kind of pan by it or whatever. Or you say, it's so cool to finally have the energy to be able to spend a little extra time on my daughter. Usually it's home and to bed and out for the next. You know what I'm saying? You're finding creative ways to create points of connection with people. And as much as you want to go and get everyone's commitment right now, that is not, you will, if you will correctly do that. I mean, I hate to keep taking it back to these analogies, but I mean, back when you were dating or whatever, I don't know your situation, whatever, but if you just walked up to the girl you thought was really good looking and started making out with her, bro, it's done. You never again. You probably get thrown in jail, slapped, or whatever. Like, it's not going to work. Well, Hail Mary, it may have everyone out of 1,000 may not slap you and you may get, but that's not what you're looking to do. And you'll get frustrated doing that. So I treat, like I said, social media as being in a room. It's just a room full of people, which means it's a room full of opportunity. And I want to engage it in the same manner in which I would. You know what I mean?
That's such a good point.
And I want to piggyback off that. This is so much like dating, and I need to get back to this because there's a point in time where I was doing it. And I would literally write down 6 names of people that I wanted on my team that I wanted to be promoters. And at the beginning of the month, it started with me simply liking their post, then commenting on their post, than getting in a little conversation where maybe I found out something about them and I mailed them a book so that I was creating value in their life. Middle of the month coming around, they're starting to see my storylines because we're talking privately. And then by the end of the month, they're on the product. The next month they're promoting. I was getting to like a 5-for-7 convert ratio by playing that slow wheel and taking them through the process. But don't ever get confused. I had a girl the other day post her first post, great transformation picture. She got about 138 comments on it. She was available that day. I gave her scripts. I told her to connect me. We closed 3 out of 7 through a connection. And then the next day she went back to work and nothing else happened with those 138 comments. But you looking from the outside in may have thought she just hit gold. I had another girl just last month I started, and I said, connect me to who you think would be either great on this product or awesome promoters. She put me in a group with 5 people, edified me, introduced me to them. All 5 of them got on the phone with me for 20 minutes. All 5 of them put in an order, and then she stopped, and we haven't closed another one since. It's personal. And however many conversations a day personally you're willing to get in it, and you only build trust, value, and credibility through the Facebook platform, but it is the private conversations going on face to face on the phone that is actually doing the closing.
You just have to remember, we as human beings, we are naturally lazy and naturally greedy, period. You have to avoid that personally, but you have to take advantage of that from the other side of the house. So what I mean by that is that, Abigail said it, like, if you want someone to be interested in what you're doing, you need to show interest in what they're doing, whether that's comment, just going down your street. Who would make, Keith, you're like, man, this person will make a great whatever. 10 straight days of making a comment on their post or doing whatever. I mean, I even do this in the B2B world. I'm like, listen, instead of just going into the place, stop for 2 seconds, look on their Instagram page or whatever, and find a point of connection. Hey, man, I noticed you guys are doing this, whatever. It shows interest in them. You know what I mean? It shows that, that you want to have that interest. In what's crazy, and this is just another trick on social media. That's the other thing, Phil, is when you throw up a Hail Mary, what you also don't realize is that ain't nobody, less than 2% of people on your friends list even see it. Because unless you're engaging with them, you just putting a random post, ain't nobody gonna see it. And then you're gonna say, well, nobody responded. Well, that's literally because out of 5,000 people, 20 people saw it. So point being is that's the other thing to get Facebook analytics or whatever platform you're using and, engaging, is that you want to create more engagement. You can't just go in there and look and like. You have to actually engage, and there's really great ways to do it. And it's, folks, guys, this is the important part about it. It's just doing things that you're already passionate about doing. Dr. Charlie, if you are an expert, if you've put in 10,000 hours in leadership, then stick to leadership and sprinkle in some of this. Don't try to be an expert in that and forego all of you are passionate and you are experts you've put 10,000 hours into something, whether it be it could be something that pays you or doesn't pay you. Stick with that, because that's where people trust you. That's where people know you. That's where you have the most passion. That's where you have the most authenticity. Weave this into that. Don't abandon that and take on this. That's just, because this, until you put your 10,000 hours in, let's get real. You need to lean on someone else that does. That's why I would never, until I put my 10,000 hours on, I was leaning on all the people that had theirs, and I was sticking to what I know and what I sounded credible in or what I was passionate about or whatever. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
that's really important.
Good. That's so good, man. Because I think that I know for me, like I've already taken like 17 pages of notes. I know Dr. Charlie's putting like 30 pages of notes down. But I felt a little bit disingenuous at the time, because I've been 20 years in the nonprofit sector, whether pastoring churches or, working with NFL teams and coaches. And so I felt like I'm not an expert in this. Like, who am I to, but dude, that just like dropped a bomb on, I can still motivate, inspire, encourage, lead, and also sprinkle this in,
Yeah.
like making it very authentic and a very natural conversation. Because I've preached all my life, like we're mind, body, and spirit. Like if one of those are off kilter, it's going to affect everything else.
I can even do an entire. Listen, if God came to earth through his son Jesus, and when Jesus had problem, when he was going through stuff, what did he do? He went to fast. So if he had a human body when he was fasting, what was happening? He was producing ketones. He was living off like this. This is so. I mean, it's just it's. I mean, it's.
Yeah.
Wow,
it is what it is.
Really good.
And that kind of goes back to also, Philip, that's sometimes been my biggest obstacle and challenge in building this business, is that I was already a trainer and I was already a nutritionist. So people, my teammates, can look at what I'm posting sometimes and they think that they have to become that. That's just what I always was. And it actually doesn't give me an
Abigail, you need to read Michael's thing there. He said, how do I get in on the conversation? Mike, you probably don't have your microphone hooked up. Okay, so Michael, real quick, if you're on your screen, okay, there is a micro. There's the little icon in the bottom left-hand corner that is a microphone.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, we
Mike,
heard you.
I can hear you. You just muted it. Click that button again. Click it again. Now speak.
Hello.
Yeah, we
I
can
didn't
hear
remember
you.
you
There you
being
go.
that
I'm
quiet.
alive. I'm
Hey,
alive.
listen. So today I said, Michael, all right, before we get on this, we're going to do a run through on how to use Zoom because he downloaded it. And I could hear him. And for like 10 minutes, I couldn't see him. And we're trying to figure out everything. He had his camera covered and all I could see was black.
Hold on, Michael. Let me tell you this here real quick, though. What you just did is you unmuted. So just so you know, it's really valuable when you're not speaking to mute, because if you burp, fart, or do anything in between, you know, I was literally watching a video the other day. Abigail, did you see the one that was going around of the girl that was on a Zoom and doesn't know how it works? And she carried her phone into the bathroom and sat it down, was sitting on the toilet. Like, you got to also be careful with these things, because if so just so you know, that bottom left-hand corner with the microphone and the video, if you click on either one of them, if you click on the video, your video will turn off. If you click on your mute will, your thing will get muted. Just, y'all be doing a lot of Zooms. That's a little Zoom feedback for you. For
Ryan and I have seen some things we wish we could unsee.
Yeah,
for sure.
craziness.
Anyway, first time on Zoom, so I got beyond that. But
Congratulations.
I want to start by thanking you for almost 2 hours
Wow.
Yeah.
of great knowledge. My story is, I mean, I'm 64 and a half years old. I had 5 bypass surgery going on 3 years ago. At that point, I put on about 22 pounds and I just couldn't shake it off anymore. I just was in a rut. None of my clothes would fit. I was if my wife and I were going to go out, if I couldn't get into something I wanted to wear, I was in a bad mood. My motivation for being here tonight was, my wife knows Philip from her hometown, and they converse on occasion on Facebook and what have you. And then one day she goes, hey, Philip wants to talk to you about something. I mean, he didn't tip his hand, but there was something that I think he was kind of aware that what my frustration was in my health, and he might be somebody to talk to. So that's what I did. And he told me about something that he's been on, and it's worked for him. Why not give it a try? I have nothing to lose, and let's do it. So yeah, so far I've had I think I'm going on 2 weeks into having the drink keto daily. I've been on the 60-hour cleanse. Now I'm back on the drink keto daily. I I didn't have the mindset of this being anything to do with marketing. I mean, I have nothing against making $1 or $1 million on this. My goal is to feel better about myself. Bottom line, if that's all I get done in this, I'll be the happiest camper in the campground. But I just need to get better educated. And by that I mean, Brian, I don't mean to oversell it to anybody, but if I can't prove it to myself, how am I going to prove it to anybody else? Your product, this product, you mentioned Amway earlier. No one cares or cares to know how clean your clothes are by using Amway soap. They can't tell if your clothes are cleaner. This product, they can see the difference in what you're talking about. I need to become my own poster child for this product. And until I know in my heart this is going to work, I'm doing no service to anyone I tend to bring into this group. Because if I can't prove it to myself, I am not going to advocate this product. And that's where my mind is right now. I'm still having questions about how sustainable this is, as far as having, the keto flu that I've been hearing about. There's a bunch of things that are certain I'm getting bombarded with online, mainly, that are, quite frankly, contradicting what you've spent the better part of 2 hours trying to educate us in. So my mind is going, Brian's a nice guy. Obviously, he's successful. Abby's a great lady. Philip's a great guy. Everybody's got their stuff together. But everybody else on the other side thinks they've got their stuff together too. So there's a competition, black and white, north versus south, whatever. Somebody's got an angle on this I need to feel comfortable about before I can take it to my friends, my relatives, people I know in the street, know from previous background and my employment. That's where I need to be. So I'm getting to the point where I'm a little bit confused on what to do with this. My only goal is going into this was to get feeling better about myself. And until I get to that point, I'm not going to be probably a very good candidate to promote this, because if I couldn't prove it to myself, how can I prove it to somebody else?
That's right. No, and listen, that needs to remain your conviction. We are we're compelled by two things. Either number one, we're compelled by education or some outside source or somebody else. It typically comes down to we're either compelled by someone else's experience or our own. What I could weave into that is also education. And you said it, Michael, but here's the crazy thing, is that when you do believe in it I can't tell you how many successful promoters are a part of my organization that is the only goal that they had. They had no intention whatsoever of making a dollar bill. Zero. They actually, I'll be very, very honest with you, they had no clue that there was actually an income opportunity even attached to the product that I was educating them on. Straight up. So what that means is that's what you need to stick with. I would say right now, if anything that I said in the last, I didn't even realize it was 2 hour. Time flies when you're having fun. If anything that I said does interest, if it, tickles that ambition that you may have, then all I would simply say is this, is that you need to do yourself exactly what you're saying is I would dive now into more education than you ever have. If you want to know where to start and how to prioritize, ask Abigail, and she will prioritize the education and how you learn it, and also how to start applying a lot of this yourself, understanding the difference between, because listen, you, Michael, in 64 and a half years, you've got a lot more thinking to undo than to redo. Like you got to assess and analyze a lot more because like I said, whether it's with the diet, with your health, with whatever, just continue down that path. Because like I said, that's where I think that you need to take as much time as you need to take, a day, a week, a month, a year, or whatever. But know that when that time comes and when you do feel that you're like, my God, like I love people that are insanely skeptical as well, because people that are insanely skeptical, when they convert, they are dangerous. They really are, because they go crazy, because there's nothing better than to unleash a skeptic once they believe. And that's ultimately what it comes down to. So you got to go through that process. And here's the other thing. Sometimes there's a lot of people I've seen have success by literally sharing that. I'm like, listen, this is something that I read some research on. I've seen some other people's experience. And now, you know what? I'm going to share with y'all my experience doing this day to day. Here's what I'm taking. Here's what I'm doing. I don't know if it's going to work. And literally, you're not waiting until you're done and you've had an experience. You're inviting some other people to prove it wrong with you. That is literally a strategy where I've seen people like get other people on board to just say, hey, I'm gonna prove this thing works or doesn't work. But either way, I'm gonna prove it. You got anything to lose? You want to join along? I've seen that actually work really, really well. So point being is, back to what you're saying, you're spot on. And like I said, even if everything I said did excite you and you got involved for the wrong reason and it wasn't authentic, just out of your excitement, you'd be able to definitely get some traction. But at some point you will hit that same wall that I was mentioning earlier. And that's when things will come to a screeching halt. Unless, like I said, it's either we believe through our own experiences or the experience of someone else. So sometimes I've seen this happen as well. I've seen couples get started. I've seen the transformation with the wife happen in a week, or the results happen in a week. I've seen the other spouse, it take months. Why? Because bodies are different. Outcomes are different. What's going on is different. So all of y'all will have different, while you have some similar experiences, things will happen very differently at different times.
Yeah.
So
if I can jump in, that's fantastic, Brian. And Michael, I didn't know that there was a financial side to this either. I hadn't been on social media in 3 years. I spoke at an event at Arrowhead that Abby attended. I think I got a friend request or something happened where I then clicked, and I was like, oh, I noticed that she did this ketone thing. I was taking, one of my best friends is Nick Foles, who just went to the Bears. He was going to go to the Colts, but he is a bulletproof spokesperson or whatever. And so I would get literally ship boxes full of stuff at my front door. And so I was just taking that just because it was free and it was available. So I just messaged Abby and I said, hey, I'm doing this bulletproof stuff. Is your stuff similar? And so she goes, hey, do this 10-day challenge, yada, yada, drink coffee. Yeah. And so I just fell in love with it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. And I don't know if it was intentional or not, Abby, but you were fantastic at not pressuring me and allowing me to experience the system personally, because I've said no to 1,000 of these, like 1,000. Everybody wants to leverage in my network, honestly, and I say no 1,000 times, and I say no before they even give me the chance. I'm like, no, don't want to, because in my role, I protect these athletes because everybody wants something from them, right? Everybody. And they go through me to get to them. I get it. I know. But I started taking this and I'm like, this is definitely different. And those 10 days, I was shocked. And then I learned, wow, I'm in a situation that is, my back's up against a wall in multiple different areas. And so it just made sense for me.
Well, guys, Brian, thank you. I know you got your kids there and you have to.
Sorry, to change rooms. My daughter was having a meltdown.
And Max is going to come, the wife. You have given us so much time and energy, and I know that you'll jump back on in a heartbeat when we're ready. I'm not going to call you back on until we all have one more. But we are on a mission. We are so excited. I can't thank you enough for your energy and your wisdom that you just poured on us for the last 2 hours. And I guess with that being said, guys, let's go put in some attention to our family. And yeah, thank you. I appreciate you so much.
Awesome. You too, Abby. Thanks, guys. Thanks for taking the time, and we'll chat soon. Thanks.
Appreciate everything. Thanks. Thank you.
All right.
Guys.
Yeah.